We are back. Women's basketball game week is here. And of course, we are talking with head coach Anna Nimz. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm good. This time last year with COVID and everything, it was such a time of uncertainty. And right now, I feel like things have been moving well. The girls are healthy, knock on wood. And we have our first game tomorrow. So I know they're tired of practicing, I'm tired of practicing, and we're ready to see them get on the court.
Definitely going to talk about Centenary, maybe a little bit about Texas A&M, Texarkana as well. But want to sort of set the stage maybe a little bit for these first games. We could spend a lot of time certainly talking about the preseason and practices and all the new players and all that sort of stuff. But what's the biggest difference about this year's team? Obviously, we brought in a bunch of new players, and it's sort of the same deal where people are learning your system and philosophy and culture and all those sorts of things. But it feels a little bit different this year in your quote-unquote second year, which I know you said this is your first year, really.
No, it's absolutely my second year. It's definitely my second year, and I think that first year paved the way. Truthfully, I know I've joked around about this being our first year, and ultimately I just wish the NCAA would let me go ahead and opt out of our record last year. But other than that, no, last year paved the way for what this year has in store. And so without last year, we're not in the same place we're going to try to be this year. And so I probably should stop saying that joke. But what I think the biggest difference, and there's going to be a lot of difference of which everybody's going to be able to see on the court and just overall, obviously, numbers. But we have depth. We have some depth, and I know you had asked me, like, Coach, hey, who are your starting five? And your guess is as good as mine. And that's not a bad thing. And I think, for us, we played a scrimmage the other day just against ourselves, and initially I wasn't very excited, and it was 61-63, and I'm wondering why nobody's separating themselves and while nobody is kind of trying to make that jump into that starting five. And then the more I watch film and the more I talk to my staff, it's not that people aren't trying to separate themselves. It's just that we have more depth. And so our starting five and our second five, or our next eight, however you want to look at it, there's strengths across the board. Now, in time, there's going to be a starting five, but right now I'd feel comfortable putting either the purple team or the white team out there. And I think they'd bring something different, and I think they'd bring some success to the court. So genuinely overall excitement about, if somebody doesn't want to show up to play, we have a few others sitting there ready to go. Whereas last year, just with the sheer numbers, we just lived and died by I think we had 8 players. And so it made it tough on them and obviously tough on the substitutions.
Yep. Brought in 11 players, and certainly that'll be a talking point, certainly early in the season as we really start to get to know them and the styles and different things that they bring to the game. But had a good group of that 11 here early, working together, working out and that sort of stuff. That group specifically, if you want to name names, certainly that's fine. But having that little bit of a head start before the semester, I feel like that's had to have helped as we get closer now and into game week.
It did, because anytime you add 11 new players, and although we have 3 returners, it's still very different from them. We had 2 regular freshmen last year that they got thrown into the fire. And so now, kind of like the way we've talked about, this is their true freshman year with COVID not counting last year. They're able to be genuine freshmen. And then our mid-year with Jemiah, we're still all new to the system, even the ones that are coming back. So what the summer 2 did for us, we at least had 5, and it allowed us to implement our offense, kind of start to implement a philosophy, the standard and expectations just on and off the court. And so that was nice because at least we had a few that were here. So when the rest of the team showed up, we could implement something, and at least we had a first 5 to be able to go through some of our offense to be able to set the tone when it came to strength and conditioning, and that's an area I think Coach Swagger's done just a tremendous job with our girls. And our girls, a lot of times you may have a team that fights the weight room. Coach Swagger's done an incredible job. Not only do our girls excel in the weight room, they have fun doing it. And so I think that's going to provide us success down the road when everybody's bodies are getting tired. But I think the foundation and that understanding of what it's going to take started back then, back in summer too, where Coach Swagger was getting 4 of the 8 hours. And so we put a lot of investment into the weight room and that conditioning side of things and that overall toughness. You know, and like you said, it's allowed our team to grow and at least have a foundation.
So looking back to those first October practices, as everybody's here, everybody's getting going, where's been the biggest growth that you've seen from this team? Maybe even if it's just off the court chemistry or on the court, whatever the case may be, between then and this last practice that you'll have this afternoon.
I think just the overall competitiveness has grown. You know, I don't think it's where I want it to be yet, but I think that's going to take games. I think that's going to take going against somebody else. But at the beginning, I think there was a little bit of hesitancy, maybe to go all in. And so it took just some time to see if, hey, is she going all in? Am I going to go all in? Where are we at? And I think they've had time to kind of feel each other out, to gain some chemistry amongst one another. And because of that chemistry and that trust, it's allowed for them to get more competitive each day in practice. So that's a big growth for us. And I still think that it has a ways to go. But like I said, I think that's going to really start to shine come game day.
A lot of excitement around a new season. Get to start it at home against Centenary. Where's that level, do you feel like, amongst the team to, you know, hey, we're not practicing against each other, not playing against each other anymore. We've got an opponent, and we've got something to, in a lot of ways, prove this year.
You know, I think we've started to see that level of excitement. I think on a little bit into Thursday, but for sure Friday, Saturday's practices, there was a different feeling in the gym. And I think maybe it was a little more focused and a little more competitive. And I think they're seeing the light of that preseason tunnel, the end of it. You know, they've been going at it since July for some, and if not July, then August. And it's a long time to practice against yourself. So I think their overall excitement is definitely continuing to grow, and something that, yes, we have a lot to prove, but in the same breath, you don't want to compare anything. Comparisons, I don't think, are where we're going to see it. This is their team, this is their season, and it has, you know, this is their time to make an impact for what it means to be a Lady Demon. But very much so living in the now instead of living in making a statement based off anything else.
Important games this week. Like I said, Centenary on Tuesday. We got Texas A&M, Texarkana on Saturday. What are the 1 or 2 things maybe you want to see the most out of, maybe even specifically Tuesday, to get that first game under their feet and really get the season off to a good start?
I think it's something we've struggled with all year and continue to talk about every single practice, but overall focus. When the ball goes up, it's time to go, but that focus has to start in pregame, or the second you walk into this gym an hour and a half before tip-off. I think we've struggled with that, or if we have started off good, we definitely have some slippage, you know, and that's going to happen, and so that's okay as long as we start to curb it. And it has to be curbed by players on the court. We don't have all the timeouts in the world to get that fixed. And so I'm excited. I think these first couple games, it's going to allow them to get a better feel for the game and truthfully get a feel for playing one another. We make practice as hard as possible and as game-like as possible, but at the end of the day, it's not a game. And so I think these first couple games are going to allow them to get comfortable, understand, and really see what happens if that focus is lost. They're going to see the change in the score and whatnot. But so that overall focus, and then understanding that if the situation arises and maybe we are able to get up 2 or up 4 or up 6, that number needs to continue to change. And we've shown that in practice, when we get up a little bit, we tend to get comfortable. And that's something we want to get rid of very early in the year. I don't expect them to be playing their best basketball, but those are things that are in our control. And so we need to recognize that early. If you have the opportunity to get up on somebody, maybe 2 or 4 points, you need to capitalize on it. That's not when you get comfortable, that's when you get focused.
Yep. Alrighty, Coach. Well, I know you're excited. I know the girls are excited. Hopefully the fans are excited.
Me too.
It's going to be a good first week, and we'll get to talking to you again real soon.
Sounds good. Fork 'em.